In this video, I'm going to go through how to create a PPC automation system while maintaining full control. So we're going to eventually just go through this entire funnel here. But before that, everything is color coded. I'm just going to go through the legend here. So if you, the blue ones here are KPIs. Those are those key performance indicators that we're going to use to understand the system and form our decisions or our strategies on what we want to do. The purple ones here is what we can actually control. So for instance, we can control what targets and what sources it comes from, our targeting within our campaigns, the placements, etc. Then we have the ones in green. So this is where the automation will come in. So you can automate your bids, you can automate your targeting up here, and that's generally it. The purple ones down here is where the strategy comes in, but we're going to be using our KPIs, the ones in blue, in order to form that strategy. So we're going to dive in top right corner here. Generally when you have a brand new product or a brand new PPC where you want to set up a new campaign structure for, we're going to have manual targets or sources that we need to come up with. So we're going to use, I like to use first party sources as much as possible because they're direct from Amazon and you know that they're collecting it from a specific search. So we have brand analytics, so you can, there's product opportunity explorer and some other tools that they have there that you can extract data from. Search query performance. So if your product is already live and you have some data and you're trying to relaunch, you can pull some data from there. Search auto suggestions, so you can grab data there. And if you can't find all the search terms from those three, you can also then pull from a reverse ASIN tool, and that should do the trick. So when you grab the sources of these targets, you're going to inject those targets into either a keyword or product targeting in a campaign. From there, this will then you will apply bids here, and those bids will result into brand impressions. But one step before brand impressions is market impressions. So market impressions is essentially all the available impressions for that specific keyword target or product target. So within each of these impressions, the only areas where you can gain impressions in terms of ad placements is top of search, rest of search, and product pages. So top of search is going to be the top 4 or 5 placements for ads right at the top of the search engine. Rest of search is everything else that's not top of search in the search engine, and then product pages is your product display. So there's a couple KPIs we want to go through. We have impression share, which is essentially your brand impressions divided by your market impressions. So what is the percentage of that? So that will include all of top of search, rest of search, and product pages. So you can find this KPI in a report that you can generate in Campaign Manager. The second KPI here, we have top of search impression share. So we know what the total available top of search impressions are for the market, and we are paying for the top of search impressions at the brand level. So when you divide the brand divided by the market, you get a percentage that is top of search impression share. So that's a pretty good gauge on how much visibility you can obtain at that top of search. The key here is really finding that balance. You really need to, because you're bidding up here, generally the more you bid, the more impressions you're going to get at the top of search level. However, that balance comes with profitability and a higher ACoS. So if you can really nail down and find that sweet spot where it works for your product's margins and your numbers, maximizing this is important for visibility. So going down the funnel, after brand impressions, those guys that show up on your search engines, on the search engine for that specific keyword, will then click through and they'll click through to your product page. From there, they can make a purchase, which is then counted as an order. And then once you have an order, that multiplied by your product price will give you your ad sales. So this is the full campaign manager funnel. The only thing we're missing here is ad spend, but that just happens at the click level, where you're, depending on what you bid at these levels, will determine and calculate your ad spend. So some other KPIs that are pretty important to understand is when you're looking at your PPC, you have brand impressions and then you have clicks. So the percentage between those two, taking clicks divided by impressions, gives you your brand's click-through rate. So if you, so let's just say you bid at a certain amount up here, and you can only gather a certain amount of impression share. So we want to make the most out of what we can obtain at that cost per click in terms of impressions, and we want to drive it to the product page, because at the end of the day, we want sales. So this is where click-through rate is and why this is important. So the higher the click-through rate generally means you either have the image or the title or the price resonated with the search term that they searched up in the search engine. So maximizing this really allows you to make the most out of your impressions that you're at your current bid that you have. From there, we have clicks going to orders. So this is, if you take orders divided by clicks, you'll get conversion rate. So conversion rate is pretty important. That's all on the product page side. So you also, again, same kind of concept. You want to make the most out of your clicks that you're receiving, because you're paying for these clicks. So the more you can improve your conversion rate, the better your ACoS is going to be, because you're making the most out of your clicks here, and that's what you're paying for. So what you end up paying for is dependent on your bid. So at your current bid, you'll generate a certain amount of clicks, which will then translate into how much ad spend you have. So that ad spend will be clicks multiplied by your bid. From there, we're actually able to calculate the cost per click, which is essentially your bid. However, it's the bid is the max amount that you're willing to pay. The cost per click is what you end up paying, because the entire PPC system on Amazon is an auction. So your bid isn't necessarily exactly what you're going to pay. It's just the maximum you're willing to pay. So that's kind of how cost per click falls into the picture here. So as we kind of go through the funnel, we then have our ad sales from here, and then we now have our ad spend. So when we take these two metrics, and if we divided spend over sales, we end up getting ACoS. If you look at it the other way, where you take sales over spend, we understand ROAS. They're essentially just the inverse of each other. So it doesn't really matter which one you use, as long as you pick one and understand what it actually means. For me, I typically will choose ACoS and really try to understand it at this level. However, as we kind of go through the funnel, it keeps going. So this is a PPC automation system. However, to get the most out of your PPC, which is just a traffic lever, where the main goal here is to obtain organic rank. So if our product's conversion rate is good enough, then we should be able to rank for certain search terms. So when we select keyword targets up here, and we are shown in the top of search and rest of search, we will then start to fight for organic rank. And the general idea behind organic rank is, if you rank, the guys that rank at the top are generally the ones that will have the best offer. So that's the best price, the best product for that specific search term. So coming back to understanding the funnel, we have ad sales, and then we can get organic rank. If this results in top search, like top placements, then organically, then this is going to generate organic sales. So organic sales are essentially sales that were not attributed to an ad, but it was attributed to the rank that you hold organically. So these two together gives you the total sales. So total sales for that particular product. From there, we're able to calculate total ACoS. So total ACoS is your ad spend over your total sales. So this is a KPI that a lot of people like to use. However, I personally like to try to stay away from reading into tacos too much because there's too much going on. As you can see, this number is affected by your ad side. So you got your ad spend and everything that I discussed in order to get to ad spend. But then on top of that, you have organic rank. So when you look at tacos and you're trying to improve tacos, there's many ways to do it. You can either improve your organic rank, or you can improve your on your ad side. So generally, there's too many factors when you're dealing with tacos that I would rather look at your individual, say, ACoS to maximize and perform on your ad side, and then look at a KPI that's related to organic rank. So whether you're tracking your organic rank and making a KPI there, or looking at keyword market share. So when you look at those two KPIs separately and you improve both of those separately, it makes it a lot easier to improve tacos. Because if you improve your ads, you improve your organic side, then your tacos will naturally improve. It's just a lot easier to understand it at these individual levels. So that's one key thing to PPC that I think is vital. So that's generally it in terms of the PPC funnel and how organic rank comes into this picture. Where we take it to the next level and bring in the control side is the strategy. So the strategy here is highlighted in purple. So when we're looking at strategy, for me in particular, I look at ACoS. So when you're looking at ACoS, we want to look specifically at what we're trying to achieve for that particular campaign or ad group, and they will generally fall into certain goals. So I will set a goal for every single campaign. And that can fall on as a ranking goal, review, profit, market share, or research goal. So with all these goals, we use data to understand how we set these goals. For me in particular, I like to use Search Query Performance Report, really understanding the brand and the market conversion rate. It really helps drive a lot of the decisions. From there, we set the strategy. And that strategy is then translated into a target ACoS. So what is the goal of that target ACoS? So for instance, if I'm ranking and I'm okay with losing some money to drive up maximum visibility, like I kind of discussed up here, you may set your target ACoS to something much, much higher than what it's currently performing at. So let's just say if my ranking campaign, my ACoS for that campaign is 40%, and I'm not generating enough top of search impression share, then I want my target ACoS to be something higher than 40%. So that's going to allow me to drive a lot more impressions. And this is only because I've already validated that I can rank on this keyword. So then that by setting this strategy in any kind of tool that you have, you'll eventually just change the target bid. The target bid is basically the bid that you end up setting for these guys up here. So it's the maximum bid that you're willing to pay in order to achieve this target ACoS is the idea behind it. And then when you do that, this green thing is the automation side. So when you set target ACoS, the target bids will adjust accordingly, and then it will affect your ad spend. Because now, if you remember how ad spend is calculated, it's calculated by clicks multiplied by your cost per click. But your cost per click is generated by what you're actually bidding. So between these two, they're going to affect the ad spend. And then eventually, it will come back down into ACoS. So this target bid will drive this ACoS closer to this target ACoS. So it's just the whole cycle, and it's the key here is reading the data and optimizing it to get closer and closer to what you need here. So, and if we come back a little bit, we remember that target ACoS is driven by this strategy that we set. So when you take a look at everything, we now have full control over the automation. However, we don't actually have to perform any of these tactics because it's all done through automation and a rule-based system. So there's one last step to this whole entire funnel. We have a line that goes from orders and goes straight up to the very top here, where there's a little bit more automation. So when it comes to PPC, there's really only a couple things that you need to do. You have bidding, you have targeting, which is graduating targets up and then applying negatives, and then you have throttling. Throttling is you either do budget throttling, you do placement throttling, and so on. So with that being said, when you're at these order level, you can use this metric or KPI, or that's what I use in particular, in order to drive this PPC feedback system. The feedback system essentially will isolate the targets for you, moving them up the chain in order to perform isolation, and then apply the appropriate negatives. But they also act as gathering all this data down here through your research. They will come back through the system and add them to your campaigns or ad groups at the keyword or product targeting level. And that's how the cycle then fully gets completed, because we have bidding that's addressed here in terms of the automation, which is controlled by the strategy. And then we have targeting, which is done up here, where it applies isolating the target, so graduating, and then applying the negatives. So again, fully automated. And then the only thing that's left over is throttling. So throttling exists at the budget level and the placement. So these can be automated. There are tools out there that allow you to do that. Personally, I like to try to control my budgets just through optimization, but they definitely can be automated if you really choose to do so. And that's the grand scheme of things. The idea here is to keep things simple, understanding the KPIs and really learning what KPIs you need to look at in order to control the whole PPC system. So one thing about PPC that you always have to remember is it's just a traffic lever. It's a tool. It's not going to solve the business, because there's two sides to the business. You have traffic, and then you have conversion. And your conversion comes down to your product. So you can't fix a bad product, but you can fix, if you have a good product, you can fix your PPC, because it's just a tool for traffic. You can just drive more traffic through. And if your product is good enough, then you'll obtain those organic ranks, and you should be able to generate profit through it. So you can see how, by understanding this full system in depth and really paying attention to the KPIs here, you can create a automation system with full control. So hopefully you enjoyed that training. If you liked what you saw, leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Thanks.